Maude, my moredoor Mk2 Escort, yeah, her brakes failed.
Definitely gonna spill some of this. That one faulty pipe is off. Finally getting rid of this bodged up fuse box.
You lay on the floor and crack the bleed nipples off and I'll just sit in the car and pump the pedal.
I have now made a funnel.
Go on. Change my clothes and take her for a spin. So good to be back behind the wheel of Maude by there actually. Really low on power.
Well, I'm screwed now.
That's a mess. The cavalry have arrived. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and this is the first time I've picked up the camera since I got back from my recent island trip, apart from a little video that I put on my Patreon to show some parts that I bought for Esther, my ST170 powered Mk2 Escort, that won't be fitted for ages. Anyway, the day before I went to Ireland, I took Maude, my moredoor Mk2 Escort, around the block for a bit of a joyride and yeah, her brakes failed. As I got further and further into that drive, yeah, the pressure was just getting less and less until eventually I lost all brakes by the time I'd got her home. But I did manage to get her home safely. And today I'm going to be hopefully fixing whatever's going on. Before I did put her away in the garage that day, I had a little look in the engine bay and I couldn't see any brake fluid leaking from the master cylinder area. And then I poked my head under the rear of the car and I could see loads of brake fluid all over the driver's side of the rear axle. So I'm guessing what's happened is when I recently refitted her LSD and fitted the uprated half shafts, I've probably put a little bit too much strain on one of the hardline brake pipes. And yeah, it's probably got damaged. So it should be a simple fix, just a case of replacing one of the brake lines, but I won't know for sure until I get around the garage, jack her up and investigate properly. So I'll catch up with you when I get around there.
Alright, so I'm under the car and it's not immediately obvious which one of these two pipes is the problem. When I had a look after I noticed the problem, the brake fluid was all over this area. Now, I've got a feeling it's this pipe here, because when I made these brake pipes, I don't think I would have had this one so far away from the axle. I probably would have run that closer to the axle. So when I was doing the diff and shafts job, I obviously bent this one. So I expect it's leaking from the fitting on that brake pipe.
I think what I'm going to do is spray a load of brake cleaner all over the area and then put some more brake fluid in the master cylinder and give the brakes a bit of a pump and then see if we can see exactly where the brake fluid's coming out.
Definitely gonna spill some of this. Knew I was going to spill a load of that because it's a brand new bottle of brake fluid, but I'm not worried about paint getting eaten away on this car, to be honest. Alright, so they're virtually completely dry now. Yeah, I can clearly see that it's that one that's at the top of your screen now, leaking out between the pipe and the fitting. That goes from the back of the brake drum there to the flexi here.
So yeah, I'll just replace that whole pipe and then we should be good after we've bled the brakes.
So I'm going to disconnect it from here first. There's a bracket on the back of the axle. Just give it a spray of brake cleaner. Might make it easier to undo. I don't have any WD here. I think it's a 13mm. Yep. And then I've just got to disconnect that same pipe from the back of the brake drum backing plate. It's an 11mm. And just like that, faulty pipe is off and dripping brake fluid everywhere. Alright, so here's my dodgy bit of pipe. This is the end that's failed on me. And yeah, just need to replicate this now. I've got this roll of copper pipe. Now, I know loads of people say you shouldn't use copper pipe, but that's what I use. And I'm going to need to flare the ends like this. One end needs to be flared like that, as a single flare, and the other end needs to be flared like that, double flare, so that's more of like a female end.
Now there are loads of videos on YouTube showing how to flare brake pipes. I've actually shown it before in my videos, but yeah, I'm sure the other videos will explain it a lot better than I can. But what I will say is that I absolutely love this type of flaring tool. It means that if you need to do a repair on the car, you can. Whereas the ones that you hold in a vise, you're forced to take the pipe off the car. And I've really struggled to use those in the past anyway. But yeah, these ones are really good.
And there it is. I still need to do this final bend on this end, and the whole thing will need altering, but I can do that as I'm fitting it.
So I'll just give the pipe a blow through with brake cleaner, just in case there's any debris in there, and then I'm gonna fit it to Maude.
Got the brand new pipe screwed into the brake cylinder here, and then it runs along the axle, over the axle, and then it attaches up to the flexi on that little bracket there on the axle.
So all I need to do now is bleed the brakes. So I need to wait for my beautiful girlfriend Kat to get round here and give us a hand. She's shopping at the moment, but there is something I can crack on with in the meantime.
I'm sure some of you will be happy to know that I'm finally getting rid of this bodged up fuse box.
And if you watch the island videos, you'll know that on the day of the inner show and run, someone very kindly gave me this fuse box that they didn't need. If you're watching, massive thanks again for giving me this fuse box.
Certainly going to be a lot better than this one that I bodged with Aldite. I have just given all the contacts clean.
Sweet, that's all plugged in now.
And that's one Aldite bodge deleted from the car.
Now, where's my assistant? My beautiful girlfriend Kat has arrived. All right, so you lay on the floor and crack the bleed nipples off, and I'll just sit in the car and pump the pedal.
Sure.
I have now made a funnel out of a bottle, so that hopefully I won't spill so much brake fluid everywhere. Go on. Go on. Joints are dry.
Brakes are all bled up nicely. There was no air in the fronts at all. I've now got a really solid pedal, which is good. I just need to throw this wheel back on, get Maude back on the ground, and then I'm going to go and change my clothes and take her for a spin. Well, I decided to head over to my other garage for a little while, so I didn't bother changing my clothes. But yeah, it's so good to be back behind the wheel of Maude for the first time in a couple of weeks. She feels like absolute junk. Definitely need to do something about the front suspension on this car. But I have actually started the ball rolling with that, and I'll explain all about that on the channel at some point in the near future. But at least her brakes work now. Tell you what, the diff in this car is so tight. It's like a welded diff when you're doing really sharp turns and reverse parking. You know, one of the wheels like skipping along like a welded diff. But you know, I do like them aggressive, and it will get tamer over time as the clutch plates wear. Coming up to a stretch of road here where I always used to notice the car misfiring at the top of full. I'm still not sure if that was because of the faulty VVT solenoid that I recently replaced that was leaking oil. So yeah, this will be a good test to see if that was the issue. If not, it might be my very old and rusty motorbike fuel pump that I've still got fitted to this car. It literally only does it at the top of fourth, and then you can back off for like a split second and then get back on it and it's fine. So it's just
fuel bowls might be getting dry just at that point. It's only when you drag it from standstill all the way through the gears. Oh, bit of a misfire there actually. It's just really low on power now. Dear oh dear. Just as I was saying about that misfire, and now it's just no power at all. Popping and banging like mad. I can see there's a little puddle of oil around the fourth spark plug again, and a little bit around number 3. There's none around the other 2. So that issue I had before obviously wasn't just because of this VVT solenoid, or maybe it wasn't that at all. So it probably was the rocker cover gasket. I mean, I can see oil around that VVT solenoid again, but I'm guessing if it was to run into the spark plugs, it would also soak these two, or soak these two first. But yeah, there's not a huge amount in here like there was before. This is just residue from before where I didn't clean it properly. So I think, yeah, that was leaking before, but it looks like the rocker cover gasket is leaking as well. Or maybe where I tried to tighten the rocker cover up, thinking it was the gasket before, I've now squished the gasket too much. Just have to limp it home, basically running on 3, which is not ideal. Got no way of cleaning the spark plug out. I haven't got enough tools with me. Oh, she's dying completely now. So the only tools I've got on me are these spanners. So I think I'm gonna whip the rocker cover off. Hopefully I can undo all these nuts or bolts with a spanner. Whip the rocker cover off, and I should be able to get this little bit of tissue that I've got and clean around the spark plug. I don't have a spark plug socket with me or anything, so I can't even just take the spark plug out and let the oil drip into the cylinder, but the engine won't start at all now, so got no choice, got to try something. Can't really undo these middle ones. Damn. Well, I'm screwed now. Just looking at the fuses and this kick panel, but yeah, that's a mess. All right, so this fuse keeps blowing when I flick the electrics on after a while. So I've put a big one in there, which is not what you should do, and we'll see if it will let me limp home. I do actually have a spare coil pack. I think I'm going to find somewhere better to pull up and then wire up my spare coil pack. Maybe, you know, 2 of the cylinders aren't firing because it's a wasted spark. So normally when they fail, half of it will fail. It's essentially 2 coils in one. Oh look, she's died again. Just heard that fuse pop. Get me around this corner. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Well, at least I'm off the main road now. I think I'm going to throw that other coil pack on. Spare coil pack is hooked up. Bung another fuse in that relay and see if it starts. It's still running like crap, but there you go, it's dead. The fuse didn't blow this time. Alright, I think I've sussed what's going on. I think it's the fuel pump. So I've got all the switches on and the ignition. Got a fuse back in that relay that I've been messing around with, which isn't blown. Disconnected one of these fuel pipes and there's no fuel coming out. So yeah, looks like it's the fuel pump. Shouldn't have really kept that one fitted for so long. Such an old and rusty one, but. So I've taken the relay out of this relay holder. I just want to double check that it's not the relay at fault. So if I bridge the 2 contacts for these 2 red wires, if the pump comes on, I know that the relay's the issue. Just need to find a little bit of wire or something now. So yeah, when I touch these wires together, it starts sparking. So I'm guessing that means that there's a short circuit inside the fuel pump itself. I'm not giving up yet. I'm going to take that fuel pump apart. Get all my cable ties off. I mean, fuel pump bracket. Now I remember now when I put this on, it would short out if this cap was screwed all the way down. So I put this duct tape on it so that it still, you know, won't get dust in there. So I didn't have to do the cap up tight. So it didn't short out. Should be able to take this off without taking the pump off completely. Well, no matter what I try with the fuel pump, I can't get it to go. So it's obviously completely mullered. So I'm now calling recovery and admitting defeat. Dear oh dear. But yeah, I was messing about with all this lot on the fuel pump to see if it'd make a noise by me fiddling about with it, and I didn't get anything. So what's obviously happened is there's a short circuit inside the fuel pump, and that's why the fuse kept blowing. And then by me putting bigger fuses in it and keep trying, it's obviously completely ruined the fuel pump now. But it is an old rusty one, so yeah, later on I'm going to order an expensive one. The cavalry have arrived. My recovery man Marcus is just getting moored on the back of the truck. Just like that, she's back home. He was a sound bloke, proper petrol head himself, got a couple of Beamers, goes to drift days and that. Yeah, if you're watching, Marcus, massive thanks for getting moored home for me. All right, before I do anything, I think I'm going to whip the rocker cover off so I can give that a good clean. And then I'm going to take the spark plugs out and clean behind the rocker cover where the spark plugs go, clean the HT leads, and then put it all back together. And then I'll see if I can tip some fuel into the carbs just to confirm that the fuel pump was my main issue today. Alright, so she's back together. I've left the spare coil pack hooked up just to make life easier. And now I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of fuel out of Maude's tank and then basically drop some fuel into the bike carbs, and then I'll fire her up and see if she sounds like she's running all four. Yeah, so it's hard to say if it's going to run perfectly once I get a fuel pump on it. Maybe there is another issue, but ultimately it runs now and it didn't when I broke down, so it definitely needs a fuel pump anyway. But for the time being, Maude is off the road yet again. Well, today didn't go to plan, did it? But it's all part of the fun of being an idiot that's obsessed with old banger Fords. I'm going to try and get myself a genuine Honda fuel pump for her, which is probably going to cost loads of money, but I don't trust all the cheap ones on eBay. And there are some companies that are selling ones that look exactly the same as the cheap ones on eBay, but they're sort of 60 quid. But yeah, I reckon I'll be able to get a genuine Honda one for a couple of £100. And yeah, hopefully there'll be no looking back in terms of the fuel pump. Hopefully when I fit the fuel pump, everything will run sweet and there's not any other issues, but we'll just have to wait and see once I do fit the new fuel pump. Now I'm in desperate need of a shower and some food, and then I'm going to dive back into editing the island videos, which you would have already seen on the channel. If any of you haven't seen all the videos from Ireland, I highly recommend you go back and watch them. I saw some crazy stuff over there, and everyone in the comments of the island videos that I've put out so far seem to be enjoying them. This weekend coming, I've actually got 3 car shows to go to, so that's going to be another busy one. So yeah, as I mentioned before I left my job, this channel is going to be seriously busy, and yeah, I'm enjoying creating content for you guys to watch. So if you thought this video was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs up anyway, because I've had so much bad luck today. If you're new, click subscribe to keep up to date with all my future uploads, and check the links in the description to my social media, my website. I'll also leave a link to my Patreon down there for anyone who wants to jump on that. Massive, massive thanks to my patrons. I really, really appreciate your support. And as always, I'll leave my email address in the description for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.